This account was sent to our channel by someone who asked to remain anonymous. What you're about to hear might sound like a conspiracy theory, maybe even too much. But the person behind this testimony held a mid-level position inside a US government agency for over a decade, and claims to have had access to information that simply shouldn't be available to anyone outside extremely restricted circles. In his words, "I couldn't carry this weight alone anymore. I saw what was happening and felt like we were all being manipulated like cattle, but by something that isn't human." This former employee says he came across, over the years, documents, guidelines, and secret meetings that pointed to direct influence from alien entities over global economic and political structures, especially when it comes to systems of compulsory taxation. And according to him, this control isn't recent. It's been slowly implemented for decades, maybe even centuries. The scariest part? He believes it all has a single objective: to extract human energy. Not electricity, not physical resources, but a form of emotional vibration generated by stress, anxiety, and fear. Emotions triggered and fueled by endless cycles of debt, scarcity, and submission to complex, indecipherable systems of financial control. Every time you pay a tax without fully understanding why, every time you feel afraid you won't be able to pay your bills, that energy is harvested. Not by governments, but by beings far above our earthly chain of command. According to the account, the involvement of these entities began to intensify after a specific event: the signing of a secret agreement in the 1950s between representatives of a global government and an alien race known only as the Architects. These beings don't care about our well-being or economic justice. They operate on higher vibrational layers, and their interests are coldly objective: mass extraction of emotional energy. The tax system would be just one of many tools, carefully designed to appear necessary and civilized, when in reality it hides much darker intentions. Before we go on, I need to pause. Follow our channel so you don't miss the upcoming accounts, which, due to national security concerns, might be taken down at any moment. Next, you'll hear the details of how this whistleblower discovered these secret documents, and what he saw that made him abandon everything and run for his life. Get ready, because this is going to shake everything you believed about governments, money, and freedom. It all started in a pretty ordinary way. I was just another internal document analyst at an office within the Department of the Treasury. My job was to review communications between agencies, filter what could be released under the Freedom of Information Act and what needed to be kept classified. I thought my role would be purely bureaucratic, until the day a folder appeared on my desk. No entry log, no sender, just a red label that read, Classification E, Non-Human Transmission. I laughed. Thought it was some internal code I wasn't familiar with. But as I started reading the reports inside, my hand began to shake. There were records of meetings allegedly held in underground facilities, not at the Pentagon, but at restricted access sites in the Nevada desert and Alaska. The documents mentioned entities referred to only as the Watchers, and how their instructions had been gradually integrated into the global economic system since the 1950s. But what really floored me was a specific section. A memo dated 1986 detailed an operation known as Project ERX-9, which aimed to optimize vibrational harvesting in high-density urban zones through gradual increases in rates and penalties associated with delinquency. It was a cold, mathematical text full of charts and energy impact indicators, but the caption below the graphs was clear: vibrational harvest level, satisfactory for transdimensional transmission. I froze. Went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, came back to my desk. But the folder was still there like an open wound. I tried to trace where it had come from, but there was no digital record. None. I started to suspect I was being tested, or that someone on the inside wanted me to know. In the days that followed, I started noticing strange things. My access to internal systems would glitch for a few seconds, like someone was monitoring every click. A colleague I used to confide in was suddenly transferred to another department and never responded to my messages again. But I needed to know more. I started digging through similar documents and found veiled references in files from other agencies: CIA, NSA, even FEMA. In all of them, the presence of these external collaborators, was treated with absurd normalcy, as if they were just another cog in the bureaucratic machine. The truth that was unfolding before me was too disturbing to ignore. Our economic system, the thing that determines what we eat, where we live, how we live, was being shaped under the guidance of alien intelligence. And the most surreal part, all of it was handled like routine admin work. I knew I had to get out. But I also knew I had to tell this story, and maybe this is the only chance I'll get. If you've made it this far, it's because you need to hear the rest. Follow the channel now and turn on notifications. This isn't just curiosity, it's protection. Some of this information could disappear within hours, and you might never see it again. In the next chapter, I'll tell you how I managed to escape, and what I saw with my own eyes inside an interdimensional communication center located 1,200 meters below sea level. You won't believe what was being transmitted from down there. Running wasn't an easy decision. I knew I was being watched, but I had no proof. Just that unsettling feeling that every step I took was under the gaze of eyes I couldn't see. I decided not to go home. Instead, I used an old access chip, one that technically should have been deactivated, to get into an archive sector located in what we called the logistics sublevel. There I found a map. Not a regular map, but a schematic of underground tunnels connecting facilities across the country. And one point in particular stood out: Delta 12 in a remote region in northern Alaska. It was classified as a meteorological transmission center, but according to the encoded records I found, it actually operated as a sort of interdimensional communication station, built not by us, but under the supervision of the so-called architects. I went there, used fake identities, resources I'd been gathering over years of silent paranoia. I passed military checkpoints, frozen trails, and finally found the entrance camouflaged on a rocky hillside, protected by thermal sensors. But what was waiting for me down there? Nothing could have prepared me. I descended in a cargo elevator that took nearly 2 full minutes to reach the bottom. When I got out, the temperature was steady, artificially controlled. The walls were made of a dark material that seemed to absorb light. Nothing reflected back. In the main hallway, I saw symbols carved into the walls, strange ones belonging to no known language. There was something hypnotic about them, like they vibrated faintly as you passed by. Then I heard the sound. A deep, low hum that seemed to come from the ground itself. The vibration climbed up through the soles of my shoes and settled in my chest. It wasn't just sound, it was like something was trying to communicate directly with my body, bypassing the mind and hitting the instinct. In the main chamber there was what looked like a control panel, but it clearly hadn't been built by humans. No screens, no buttons. It was a living structure, organic, pulsating, like it reacted to the presence of whoever came near. There were 3 people there. Technicians? Guards? I don't know. They stood motionless, with glassy eyes, connected by translucent wires to the center of the panel. And in the middle, a projection. A humanoid figure, but with slightly distorted proportions. The head was too large. The arms too long, too symmetrical. It looked directly at me, even though it had no eyes. Then the voice came. But not through sound. It was in my mind, control through debt, feeding through fear. You are a cycle that serves us. My body froze. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I saw flashes of images. Cities in ruins, people screaming, crowded office buildings, and all of it wrapped in a dark, almost liquid energy, being drained and sent to a point in space I couldn't identify. Somehow I broke free. I don't know if they let me go. Maybe they allowed it, so I would carry the warning. Maybe that's exactly what they wanted. And if it is, I managed to get out of the facility through emergency routes, hidden in a supply truck that made regular trips to a nearby support base. I spent weeks moving from state to state, using fake names, living like a ghost. But no amount of distance could take me away from what I saw, and more importantly, what I felt. That voice still echoes in my head during moments of silence. And sometimes in my sleep I dream of numbers, tax codes, legal terms and expressions I've never consciously used, but that come out of my mouth like they were inserted there. They're like reminders, like commands, as if I'm being recalibrated, little by little. I've started to understand that maybe all of us are already connected to this alien system. Not through chips or implants, but through something far more subtle. The constant fear of owing, of losing, of failing. The daily stress of trying to survive in a world that seems deliberately complex and unfair. Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe the very concept of taxation, as we know it, has been twisted from its original purpose, turned into a device for mass emotional drainage. A sophisticated, invisible, but highly effective form of energy harvesting. And worse, widely accepted. How many times have you felt extreme anxiety after receiving an unexpected bill? How often has debt kept you up at night? Now imagine billions of people feeling that at the same time, every day. That's the currency they want. What I saw down there, in that underground center, was just the tip of the iceberg. There are more facilities like that, in different countries, under different pretexts. The control isn't just political or economic, it's emotional. And as long as we're trapped in this cycle of fear, guilt, and scarcity, we're serving exactly their purpose. That's why I decided to speak up, even afraid, even knowing I might be watched right now. If you've made it this far, please think about this. What if everything we've been taught about economics, leadership, and progress is just a smokescreen? What if we're not really at the top of the chain, but just following orders disguised as laws? I still wake up at night in a cold sweat, hearing that hum in the back of my mind. And even now, as I record this testimony, a part of me wonders, are they listening? Or worse, do they want me to keep going? Even now, this person is still afraid to talk about what happened. Was it something from this world, or far beyond anything we can imagine? What do you think? Leave your comment. If you believe these stories need to be heard before they disappear, like and share this video. Your help is essential. And remember, not everything that's hidden is far away. Sometimes it's right in front of us, disguised as normal.